Good evening, morning, afternoon, freaks and geeks. This is Reluge, and it's been a while since I did a personal story. And since I am moving to another state, I have no problem now talking about some experiences that I've had in certain households. I'm still not going to give the address to protect the privacy of the people that are currently living there, but I'm going to give each location their own name. Today I'm talking about the Axtell location. I've already talked about a lot of paranormal events that I had to live through. I already got like the major one out of the way. I am sure that these next events, like the places, are not connected. I've still seen the shadow figure that I mentioned previously multiple times, but not as often and not as like severe as before, which is kind of giving me the suggestion that it was being enhanced by the energy that the house was being a old funeral home was giving it. So, after moving from the Washington, not the city or state, but the Washington area, we moved. It wasn't exactly across town, but it was in a completely different neighborhood. And we moved to the historic district. It doesn't sound any fancy or anything, just that these houses are now labeled as historic, so the homeowners can't change anything on the outside without city approval, which usually is a no. So anyway, with the Axtell place, when we moved in, we were talking with the handyman, and it was either my brother or my mother, I can't remember whom, but one of them asked the handyman if there was anything strange going on. He mentions that there was a playful spirit, one that would move stuff, and it wasn't the story of like, oh, he reaches over and like there's no hammer and he looks over to his left and the hammer's there. That could easily be explained. No. What it was is like he had like a power drill or something big, and he was like working on something. He puts it down. I know it sounds like that. Hold on. And he picks up like another tool and starts working, and then he looks over and the power drill is no longer there. It's not even in the room. He finds it halfway across the house. I can't give any like validation on this because I wasn't there, and I didn't know if he was drinking or high at the time, so it's his story. But I can tell you that there was some weird things going on. This was around the time that I bought a EVP recorder. And for those that don't know, it's electronic voice phenomenon. And I would hear different voices and walking occasionally. So I was walking around with the EVP. Whenever I walked past my children's room when they're not there, because at this time they're every other week with me and my ex, I would get like a sensation that something was in there. So one time I went, I know it's sounding weird, just hold on. The reason why I had the EVP is because I had to just take them to their mothers, and I insisted that they close the door and turn off all the lights. When I got home, the door was open. Their bedroom door was open. So I grabbed the EVP, went into the room, and asked a question. I asked something along the lines of like, is there anyone in here? And I heard a very sharp rap right on the wall, like. It actually hurt my fingernails. We did have a neighbor. However, if I recall correctly, they were either not home or I couldn't tell if they were home. And I doubt there was anything on like that side of the wall. If there was, it was an extremely small room or something. And it sounded like it was on this side of the wall. So one night I'm sitting there and it's like I would cut. Before I get into that though, it was another instance where at night I would feel something having sodomy with me, and I wake up and I would actually feel something. And one night I was actually propped up with my rear completely up in the air, and I was like, "Oh yeah, excuse me, drinks first?" So one night I was sitting at my computer thinking, and I had a EVP, a full spectrum light, my camera, 3DS, which that's a whole different story, and my webcam. And I was thinking, it's like, the kids aren't home. How about we just try to communicate with the spirits? So I go downstairs, and for some reason, my mother and my brother were agitated wasn't the word, but they were energized and they were walking around, they were talking excitedly, and I was like, what's going on? And my mother's like, well, my friend just let us borrow a ghost hunting kit. I kid you not. This really happened. And the reason why her friend lent her this ghost hunting kit was because they too were experiencing some things. So I was like, do you know what the coincidence is? And they're like, what? I was about to come talk to you guys about doing a ghost hunt. So my brother looks at me and says, I think that's what we need to do. I do got a lot of footage of it. A lot of footage, meaning we recorded a lot. We didn't get too much. But as soon as I find the footage and go through it with a fine-tip comb, now that I can actually do that, I will upload that at some point. Not like directly after this. It might take months or something. So the biggest one though that we got was, I was in my room, I was laying down, I was trying to talk to someone. My brother comes in, and I'm like, oh, that's just my brother, don't worry, don't, he's not gonna, like, harm you or anything, and, just don't get any frisky. And my brother stops, and he's like, I just heard, what's the fun in that? Originally, I thought that was, like, in his head, like, he thought that. But when I went over the footage real quick, there was an actual low noise. And it was in the tune of what's the fun in that. Like I said, I'll link the video eventually. So, the biggest thing, which I could not debunk, I can't figure out how it happened, and I witnessed the tail end of it, so I can validate everybody's position. My mother and my brother were in the living room. I came down the steps that led to the front part of the living room, like right here. And, alright, my Pokemon case is the living room. So I came down the steps, this is awkward, and I entered the room here. Jeff was standing about here. My mother was like in the corner-ish here. And right here, like the door right next to where I come in, is the door that goes into the room that goes into the kitchen. So, oh, and right next to the kitchen, on the other side of the wall here, is Jeff's room. So, he goes in, or he's in the living room. He's standing there, and all of a sudden, a missile from one of his BattleTech action figures flies into the room. At first, he thought one of my kids was in the kitchen playing with one of his action figures, but they were upstairs. I come down the stairs and into the room right when Jeff was about to investigate what was going on. I was like, what happened? He tells me what happens, and I see the missile laying on the floor. And so he picks up and he demonstrates that shot from the kitchen. Both of us expected to see one was the BattleTech figure standing on the counter, but it was still in his room. And he even heard the click of the mechanism. Now, it could easily be explained off that it misfired because it is an old figure, and the spring could have worn out. It could have just, like, sitting there all this time being like, oh god, I gotta, oh yeah, I feel so much better. But in order for that to have happened, and I had to shoot, and it wasn't even like a direct line to the door. So I had to ricochet something off in his room, bouncing directly into the kitchen, perfectly hitting something in the kitchen, ricocheting perfectly, shooting straight into the living room. Now, like I said, I didn't see this happening, but I did see my brother and my mother still standing in the room wondering what the fuck just happened. So, that's like, I could barely explain that away. Besides Jeff taking the missile, popping on the floor, and saying that it shot. But he didn't know I was coming downstairs, so why would he do that? He could just easily come up with a story that it happened. So, that was the strangest thing that happened there. So, before I end this, I have a strange feeling that my brother is probably watching this. And if you are, feel free to add whatever it is that you want in the comment section below. And for you, other viewers, go ahead and leave some experiences that you've had if you want. Let's strike up a conversation. I love conversations, which is why I'm doing this. I'm so lonely. Please spend time with me. Please watch my videos. Please click like and subscribe. Please click on the little bell. And until next time, please stay white and nerdy.